Chairman of the Electoral Commission of Uganda, Mr. Matthew, the Deputy Vice Chancellor representing, who is sitting in for Professor Barnabas, Excellencies, Ambassadors, I see the EU Ambassador, the Tanzanian High Commissioner, all protocols observed, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to begin by thanking Damiano for having me here. He wrote to me, but I think young people are very dynamic. He forgot for the protocols. When I met Prime Minister Emeritus in Namibia, I said, I got a letter of invitation from the guild presidents, but it came straight to me. It's not easy for me to come to Uganda without the authorities knowing that I'm coming. I think the Prime Minister did something when matters were regularized, so that's how I've been able to come. Otherwise, the invitation has been around for quite some time. We are working with the protocol. But I sincerely thank Makerere University for receiving me well and making me feel at home. But special thanks goes to the government of Uganda for the very warm reception and gracious hospitality. Let me say that I commend those who conceived the idea of organizing this important event that brings together under one roof student leaders of different generations from all over Uganda. We have already seen the first guild president, 1962, speak passionately about his exploits and about the many things that he has done for this university and for the country. I also commend the organizers for choosing a very opportune theme: legacy and leadership continue the power of knowledge and cross-generational learning. This theme is not merely an academic inquest, but an urgent practical necessity. The theme is of profound significance to Uganda and the East African region as a whole. This is because our region's progress and stability are tightly intertwined with the personal roles, contributions of successive leaders since early independence days to date. When we talk about legacy, we are not looking at the leaders' tangible accomplishments. Oh, okay. Weka basi hapa. Sogeza hicho kile. I'm not young anymore.
Sure.
So I drink a lot of water. But I was saying that when we talk about legacy, we not only look at a leader's tangible accomplishments during the time in office, but also the values they espouse and their vision of the future. We look at how they shaped long-term trajectory of the institution and society they lead. A good leader does this by, among other things, preparing other good leaders to follow in his or her footsteps. Today's subject matter should resonate well with most of you who have been student leaders during your time at the university. You have witnessed firsthand how knowledge and mentoring has the ability to shape minds and inspire change. You were prepared as the next generation of your time to take on the mantle of leadership. It is my belief that you were able to rise to expectation, each one of you in your own varied ways and capacity. Since legacy is also about lasting impact we leave behind, by extension, this also means that each one of you is indebted to grooming the next generation of leaders. You know, when Kwame Nkrumah died, Amilcar Cabral was the leader of the party PAGC that was fighting for the independence of Guinea-Bissau and Cape Verde. Spoke. He says we should not cry. We should not cry so much and create an impression that we are desperate. If we do that, Nkrumah, we will have failed Nkrumah. It means that he did not spend time to bring on leaders, young leaders, to take over from him. So that's why mentoring others, you are president today, the important thing is mentor others to become presidents better than you, if possible. This is where the power of knowledge and cross-generational learning comes into play. As leaders, it is our responsibility to impart knowledge, wisdom, and experience to those who come after us. We must serve as mentors and guides, nurturing the potential future leaders and guiding them with the tools they need to succeed. Cross-generational learning is reciprocal. It's like a two-way street. It acknowledges the wealth of wisdom and viewpoints that each generation possesses. As past student leaders, you possess a reservoir of knowledge and experience that can enrich not only your contemporaries, but also the emerging leaders who are embarking on their leadership journey. Similarly, the newer generation injects in the leadership arena novel perspectives, creativity, and dynamism, infusing it with vitality and rejuvenated landscape. I had the privilege of being a student leader during my time at the University of Dar es Salaam. That time I was very militant, I can assure you. But that is how young people are supposed to be. If you find young people behaving like old people, you have lost it. If I come back home and find my grandchild there, sitting on the couch, thinking, and ask him, grandson, why do you behave like that? He says, I'm thinking about the world, then everything is lost. At his age, he's supposed to be naughty, climbing on tables, doing this and that. All that we have to do is to guide this young kid with force of reason, not the club or the whip, that I've passed through that experience. I once climbed that tree, I fell down, and I broke my arm. Or I saw someone who climbed, fell down, and broke his arm. But I had the honor of serving as vice president of the Dar es Salaam University Students Organization in 1973. It's a long time. I'm not young.
Yeah.
The looks are deceptive. I'm 74 now.
Oh.
I joined the University of Dar es Salaam in 1972. Museveni was there 2 years earlier. And he was red. He was leading an organization called USARAF, University Students African Revolutionary Front. He has been very militant. They went to Mozambique during the war against the Portuguese. They spent some time there. So, at times he is what he is. At that time, the University of Dar es Salaam had 3 campuses. The main campus at Dar es Salaam, University Hill, the College of Agriculture at Morogoro, and the College of Medicine at Muhimbili. So we had a federal system. We elect a federal president of the organization, but each campus elects its own vice president and its own government. So the real authority was in the campus government. And the main campus was the largest. So I was the power broker. At that time, this was the time of the intense liberation struggle. And this was the time when revolutionary ideas, that's when university became like a melting pot. And if you speak about, you don't toe the line, we just call you reactionary. Leave them alone. And getting elected was quite a hassle. It was not easy. You had to establish campaign teams. You had to establish strategists. And my contestant was Bagambire, a Ugandan law student at the University of Dar es Salaam. So it was a very close contest, but I prevailed. I prevailed through the democratic processes. I was elected. So, after that, of course, I joined the public service. Fortunately, my talents probably were spotted very early on. There were instructions from the President Nyerere at that time, I be taken to the party. So that is how life is. I was told, you've already been given a job. Don't fill in any form for asking for a job. I worked for the party for 1 year, and then I was taken to the military, trained, became an officer with the TPDF, later became a trainer at a military academy for some time, then taken out of the barracks, taken back to public service. From there, one day, President Mwinyi called me and said, I have appointed you member of parliament and I appointed you to be deputy minister. I said, President, this being member of parliament is fine. At least I know I can just go and talk. In parliament, I can, from my life as a student leader in the youth movement, but being deputy minister is something I really don't know. I've never worked in government. I've been in the military, in the party. What he simply said, you are young, bright, you'll make it, God bless you. So that's it. I started for deputy minister in 1988. I was 37 years old. 2 years later, I became minister for water, energy, and minerals. Then Minister of Finance, because at the university I studied economics. Because I remember after I was appointed minister, first when I was appointed a minister for energy and minerals, one ambassador from the big powers came and asked me, how does a military man be appointed as minister? I said, don't ask me. Ask the one who appointed me. But then from there, in 1995, when I was Minister of Finance, I tried to get nominated for the presidential seat. And we did well. I won the first round. But when it came to the second round, I lost by 40 votes. And President Mkapa became our candidate. But the young people were so disenchanted. They were so angry. Because after the meeting we came out, we sat down with them. They were asking me, why did you support the candidate there at the conference? You should have waited. We come out, sit down, and agree how to support and on what conditions. I said, look here, I cannot use that position of mine for trading in. I'm not trading in anything. We tried to be nominated. We lost by a few votes. The good thing about us is that what we should do, age is on my side. Age is on our side. At 44, losing the nomination, he said, let's just support President Mkapa. He'll be there for 10 years. In 10 years' time, I'll be 55. And if I remain bright, if I don't have scandals, then I'll be heir apparent. And that is precisely what happened in 2005. I was nominated with overwhelming majority in the party, and what overwhelming. But the important thing here is grooming. Training and grooming. Giving young people opportunities to learn from people who have the experience. I was lucky, at this very young age, I was writing minutes of the meetings of the National Executive Committee of CCM and the Central Committee. These are the major policy decision-making bodies of Tanzania. The system of one-party state at that time. Even on the day after we were invaded by Afande Amin, I was a lieutenant at that time, but I was writing minutes of the meetings of them. And President Nyerere called the Central Committee to brief them on what has happened. That's one crazy man has just overrun our country, says he was correcting the colonial powers. He has now become a professor of geography and history. The border should have been at Kagera River. He declared that whole salient the new Misheni district. He says we have to get back our land. He called the Chief of Staff, General Kiwete at that time, to come and brief that meeting. I was there writing notes. After the briefing, we had discussions. There was an overwhelming nod, let's go. The other thing he said, I'm going to declare war today. So of course he had his own way of communicating. He would call the elders of Dar es Salaam to a big meeting. That is where he made the announcement that our country has been invaded. We have to go and reclaim our land. Uwezo tunao, sababu tunayo, na nia tunayo. Because there was a lot of discussion, people asking because Idi Amin was a marshal. So he was just terrorizing. You know, when we say a field marshal, because the highest rank, because these generals are 4-star. The field marshal is 5-star. So he had finished everything and some were asking the chief of staff, are you sure that we can beat Idi Amin? Then Mwalimu said, you guys shut up. I have confidence in my army, we'll do it. So, and then after that meeting, he said to Jakaya, collect all these pieces of paper that these guys have been writing. Go and burn them, incinerate them, burn them, bring back the ashes. Why I was doing that? Because they were writing notes about the forming up place, the concentration areas, and so on. These are the military terminologies on how when you move to the battlefield and the start line. This is the briefing that the chief of staff had given. So I did that, came back. But at my age, I was just privileged. But they were just grooming me. You spot a talent, you bring that talent closer, you groom it for leadership, future. That's it. So, but the other thing is patience. When we lost in 1995, when young people were so hungry, outside saying, CCM bye-bye, CCM bye-bye, CCM bye-bye. And then we sat down. I sat down with them. We argued until we agreed that this is not our time, we should not force it. Age is on our side. If God has destined me to become president of this country, it will happen. And indeed, it happened in 2000. On the other side, it could have happened if I were too ambitious, and because I knew that the base, that conference has so many young people. When you look at the conference, it's very young people, just like you people. Whatever you do, when we have another cycle of election, you always have young people replacing the old ones, voluntarily, democratically. So for an old person to win against a young man is quite a challenge. That's why I won the first round, but I did not get to the threshold of over 50. When we came back, we lost. But the point I'm saying, if you give young people opportunity to work with elders, to work with seniors, you impart knowledge, experience with them, in them. So that's how I became president. But when I was a young leader at various levels and ultimately became president, I witnessed firsthand the transformative power and impact of education and leadership on individuals, communities, and nations. Investing in education and empowering young people to become leaders is the surest way of driving socio-economic growth, promoting social cohesion, and fostering peace and stability in the region in a sustainable manner. So it is up to those in leadership to identify young people, train them, groom them, as some of us had the opportunity. But I'm saying, fortunately, after my retirement from the presidency, I continue to be involved in education. I've been involved in many things, but let me mention three. The first is the Harvard University. That Harvard University asked me to join in the steering group committee of a program they call the Harvard Ministerial Leadership Program. This is a program for training ministers perform better and deliver better. You know, this is a huge university. It is 390 years old, that one. When we boast of Makerere being the oldest university in East Africa, but Harvard is 300 plus years. They've developed a very elaborate curriculum for training ministers. In April, we work with ministers of finance. In September, we work with other ministers of education and health. Fortunately, Uganda ministers are participating actively in this program. But some of us are there to share our experiences. I've been minister, I've been Minister of Finance, been Minister of Foreign Affairs, but at the same time, I've been president. So I'm there to share that experience. This is how mentorship is. It is not a question of giving somebody a piece of paper right now, I'm mentoring you. It's working with them. Where you have peers discussing, You have case loads from Latin America. You have case loads from Asia, sharing their experiences. And at the end of the day, every minister is asked, you have finished this program, write and report. What is it is going to be your first day thing when you meet the president the first time after this course? What are you going to report? So everybody is there presenting, and the others are discussing. They pinch holes in some of the proposals, but that is how the whole program really works. But also, I'm chairman of the board of the Global Partnership for Education. This is the largest fund, this is the largest partnership and fund in the world, dedicated solely to assisting low and lower middle income countries in advancing their education. We are active in Uganda as well. If you go and ask the ministry, they know. We are active in 89 countries in the world. We assist these countries, develop their programs, structural issues. It is them who decide. We want support in this and this and this. It's training of teachers, support of school infrastructure. It all depends upon them. It's a budget of $5 billion. It's small by those standards. It is based at the World Bank. It was established by the G7 20 years ago. And in those 20 years, it is the first time an African has been made a chairman. Otherwise, it's an American, a European. I took over from Julia Gillard, the former Prime Minister of Australia. The institution they established, but it is doing a lot of work in our countries. And when you have time, Madam Vice President, ask the people in the Ministry of Education, they will brief you. We do a lot of work in Uganda as well. But the last engagement is my President Magufuli, and after his death, President Samia appointed me to be Chancellor of the University of Dar es Salaam. So I'm here in my other capacity now. But our goal in universities to ensure that all our graduates are equipped with the competencies and skills needed to succeed in the dynamic landscape of the 21st century. The world has changed a lot. During our time, we'd go to the bookshop and buy books. These days, all the books are online. A lot of the knowledge and information is in the internet. So working under those environments is quite challenging, but we are trying our best. So I'm glad the scope of this summit has extended beyond the legacy and importance of passing the torch from one generation to the next. Because when I got that as a theme, I was a bit worried, and I thought I was going to suggest. But hearing the panel, hearing the discussions, you have gone beyond that. There has been broader discussions and reflections on the responsibilities of leadership, on the responsibilities that come with leadership. Through good leadership, let me say, institutions and nations have made enviable progress. But where there is a deficit of good leadership, there is either stagnation or complete lack of progress. So I'm glad you are discussing these issues, and you put leadership at the center of the discussion. There is no replacement for leadership. Luckily, generations of leaders who have shown that where there is strong and committed leadership, progress is achievable. President Nyerere once said, "It can be done, play your part." If all of us play our part correctly, it can be done. I'm delighted to get the opportunity to visit Makerere University for the first time. I've been around for a long time, but I've had no opportunity. Of course, during the time of I was with leadership in the university, we had a lot of interaction. The Dar es Salaam University, Nairobi University, Makerere University Guild, and we've been working in solidarity, I can assure you. I've not told this to Uhuru, but there was a time there was a problem with the Kenyan government and the students at Nairobi University. Because all the time, our colleagues who went to Nairobi University would take longer to finish the degree. Because after some time, they fight with the government, and they get sacked. And they come back, after some time, they start again. So there was a time, there was a rumor that there was a fight, and a student was killed. So we sent our president in solidarity with our colleagues at Nairobi University. I was left behind to organize a silent march at the university and make fiery speech condemning the government bureaucracy and their brutality against the students. Just as I'm hearing some of you guys say. So I made my speech. The envoy we sent landed, got into a taxi, landed at Nairobi University, and the police took him back into the taxi, took him back to the airport, back to Dar es Salaam. But at least we were able to demonstrate to our colleagues in Nairobi that we stayed with you in solidarity. So, we are not seeing that anymore these days. Students' organizations working together within the East African context. I don't know what has happened. You are the students, organizers, you are the student leaders. You should answer this question, what has happened? That we become so inward looking? I don't know. So this is one thing that I would really suggest to you guys. Develop cooperation with other student organizations in the other universities in East Africa. You need it. Not necessarily like in our times when the government of Kenya beats that we sent a delegation. No, you just meet and exchange ideas. And exchange ideas, how things are working. The experience of another organization may be useful to another university organization. So this is the other thing. But the other thing which, when I made the leadership yesterday, I said the same thing that you said, that maybe the other universities should emulate the example of Makerere. On this wonderful initiative of bringing together the former presidents and guild leaders and group like this one and talk about themselves, exchange ideas and experiences. So that's wonderful. Whether that academy I'd be the patron or not is a matter we'll have to discuss that. Okay. we'll have to discuss that. You know, there was a time I was elected chair, patron of the ULIT summit under the auspices of the East African community. I got a letter from the Secretary General of the EAC that we've been invited to a meeting of the youth. This is a meeting of youth of the whole of the East African community. So I go there, and as I arrive there, I say, patrol. I said, you guys, what is this? We've already chosen you patron. Such pressure, you know, you cannot say no to young people. I love them. I grew up from that. I come from that part. I've been a youth activist a long time. I've said very little about some of the exploits I had when I was a young man. There was a day President Nyerere called us to State House and gave us a dressing down. I've never seen that old man become so angry with the university students. He says, you guys are not kids. Kids are in primary school. When I deal with university students, I deal with grown-up people. So you guys go back and behave. So we stopped a lot of the nonsense that we are doing. But I'm saying we will have to discuss that. I'll also see the program that I have. But serving the youth of East Africa is something that I gladly enjoy serving. So let's agree on the modalities. What is it that is expected of a patron? You know, I'm retired. I'm spending my time in the village. I grow pineapples. I keep a few cows, not like yours, the big and collected, small ones. So I need plenty of time to be there on my farm. Otherwise, if you are not there, things don't go well. But I said I'm happy. This is the first time. But I'm proud to say that Makerere is the first university to be established in East Africa. So I can rightly say that Makerere is the cradle of higher education in East Africa. There is no denying that. Nobody can take it away from you. You were there before the others were born. The event that Matthew spoke about, the 1963 event of the launch of the University of East Africa. That university was launched, but it had 3 campuses: Makerere, Dar es Salaam University, and Nairobi University. But the main campus was here in Makerere. It's the oldest university. Dar es Salaam cannot take it. Dar es Salaam was established in 1961. Nairobi, at that time, it was called the Royal College, Nairobi. Very colonial name, yes. It was late after independence, they turned it to Nairobi University. But I think about 3 years before Dar es Salaam. So they not have the credentials and the gravitas of being the main campus for this. And Makerere University has done very well. It was part at that time of the London University. But later countries, 7 years later, in 1970, countries said, no, then let's go our separate ways. The University of East Africa was dissolved. Makerere became an independent university, Dar es Salaam an independent university, and Nairobi an independent university. When the University of West Africa was established, Julius Nyerere was the chancellor. So we lost the chancellor of the chancellorship of the University of Dar es Salaam. But you can see. But the other unique thing which I really want to mention here, the importance of this solidarity. At that time, the three universities, either by design or just by chance, had allocated specialization. Makerere University was specializing in producing medical doctors. All of the senior doctors in East Africa are graduates of Makerere. Be they in Kenya, in Tanzania, here in Uganda, they are graduates of Makerere University. That's why the medical school here is the premier medical school in East Africa. Dar es Salaam was assigned to prepare lawyers. All the senior lawyers, not the second generation, all trained out of Dar es Salaam University. Amos Wako, the former Chief Justice of Kenya, I think the former Chief Justice of Uganda as well. There was a time I met him. They all trained in Dar es Salaam. So all lawyers in East Africa were being trained in Dar es Salaam. And the engineers in Nairobi. Because it started as a technical college and then became a university, and that was their line of specialization. Well, we have to look back and see how our universities can really collaborate, exchange experiences, see how best we can do our things. So we've come a long way. But let me speak about something which Matthew mentioned. The East African Integration Project. But of course, apart from that specialization, other disciplines were there. But this university became a center of excellence in medicine. Nairobi, a center of excellence in engineering. Dar es Salaam, a center of excellence in law. But all these other disciplines were being taught. Julius Nyerere came out a teacher from here. Benjamin Mkapa, then political science and the English language. Now you can see how his English has been. So he must be quite competent here. Yes. Mwai Kibaki, trained here as an economist. I don't know if what Jaramogi Odinga studied. Diploma in education. But as I said, let me talk about the East African Community Integration Agenda. When we talk about legacy in leadership, when I was a president, let me go back to legacy. When I was president, when I appointed people, and this is one of the issues at Harvard, everyone talk about his legacy. I told them, I've appointed you minister of this ministry. the thing should always work on your mind is that what will people remember me for after I leave this ministry? You should take pride that I've been president of Tanzania. What is it that the people of Tanzania will remember me for? That is the legacy itself. So, I want to take some interest, I want to talk to you about the African integration agenda. Fortunately, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, President of the Republic of Uganda, has made and continues to make an incomparable legacy in this regard. That's the honest opinion of East Africa. President Museveni has been the bedrock of the current East African cooperation and integration process. His unwavering commitment to it has been keeping the flame glowing, as the poet was saying. The East African integration agenda has had its lows and highs, its ups and downs. We had a vibrant community, but died in 1977. The cooperation and integration was started by the British colonialists. The first customs union between Kenya and Uganda was established in 1917. Because Kenya, Uganda were British colonies. They established that. Tanganyika joined later after, because we were a German colony. Then the League of Nations gave Tanganyika to be overseen by the British. In 1927, Tanganyika joined that. But it was the British that established the East African Post and Telecommunications, the East African Railways and Harbors, the East African Airways. All these institutions were created by the British colonial powers. And the governors of the three countries met in 1948 and established what came to be known as the East African High Commission. Just to be the leadership, to mobilize and organize all this. But come 1961, because of the way the independence movement was going, when it became evident that our countries will be independent, and Tanganyika would be the first one in 1961. 1961, the powers that be transformed the African High Commission into the East African Common Services Organization. So at independence, our countries inherited the East African Common Health Services Organization. But our leaders were not satisfied. It's an organization that was created by the colonial powers, the occupation powers. They commissioned a study, and that study came up with a recommendation, which ended up with the establishment in 1967 of the East African Community. Because all these gains that were made during the period were incorporated. The community worked hard in the first few years, but then squabbles began between the partner states. There were nasty exchanges between Kenya and Tanzania. And here in 1971, the general took over, and Nyerere said he's not going to sit at the same table with Idi Amin. And then there are so many other things in between. I don't want to bother you, I've taken too much of their time. In July 1977, the community died. After that, somebody called Dr. Victor Umricht was appointed mediator on the disposal of the assets and liabilities of the defunct organization. He did this work in 1986. He presented his report. But in that report, one clause proposal was that East Africa, things have fallen apart, but East Africa should explore ways of cooperation. And you know, this was when Museveni came to power. So the three leaders, Museveni, Moi, and Ali Hassan Mwinyi, sat and discussed this proposal. Should explore ways of cooperation. It should not be, well, I'm a Muslim, and for us, when you divorce, you get divorced, if it is 3 divorces, then there is no way of saying I want my wife back. She has first to be married and get divorced. That's when you can go and claim her. So you can just connive with somebody alone. When marry my wife for a month and then divorce her, I want her back. But if you want to create an opportunity for discussion, for negotiation, you only give only one divorce today. That's it. So the proposal by Dr. Victor Umricht is that it should not be 3 divorces where you cannot come back. You cannot come back. It has happened, explore ways. So that is where our leaders. And that's why I said President Museveni has been bedrock of the East African integration agenda. That's at the time when he was president, and he worked hard with his colleagues. And that working, in 1993, they signed a treaty establishing the East African Tripartite Commission on Cooperation. 1996, the secretariat was established. I was foreign minister at that time. That's why I remember all these dates, because I've been, where was it? I've been doing the cooking? No. I was just part of this process. In 1996, the secretariat of the Tripartite Commission was established. Mudhaura was the Secretary General. Hamia, Uganda, was Deputy Secretary General, and Kazaura of Tanzania was the Deputy Secretary General. So a Secretary General and 2 deputies. We had this Council of Ministers. As foreign ministers, we attend that one. A year later, we were given marching orders that by 1999, we want our community back. Because in the Tripartite Commission, it's just cooperation. You discuss about road safety, road standards, how much the tonnage on the roads. You discuss cooperation in health, in justice, and so on. But then we want the East African community back. This is now the stage of integration. Let's move from cooperation to integration. We commissioned a consultant. They came up with a proposal. In this proposal, this is where I want us to know exactly what has been going on. In the treaties in the East African community, yes, we agreed the entry point is a customs union. Because in cooperation, it's just cooperative. But in integration, we are now trying to weave the economies of our three countries into one economy. And there are benchmarks. The first benchmark is what they call preferential trade area or the free trade area. When you allow goods from member states to move across the borders at zero tariff, no customs duty. After that, we have a stage of common external tariff, CET, where you have created this free trade area. You are now erecting an external wall to protect your region.
Made an excellent presentation. Distinguished friends in your respective capacities. We are constrained by time, so we will endeavor to be as brief as possible so that the main and chief guest can give you his remarks before he goes to his next appointment. But let me straight away salute the Guild's union for bringing all of us together and for discussing, in my view, serious issues of institutional in character, but also of national and Pan-African in nature. And I was extremely happy to see a Guild president who received East African leaders 60 years ago here with us to celebrate this important occasion. If there is any doubt, as I saw and had some doubts, whether one should join student politics or not, I think Matthew Ruchikere stands out as an eloquent testimony that it is right to do so. Apart from what he has said and what he has written, you may know, Mr. President, that the 27 young men and women who held their guns and attacked Kabamba spent 2 or 3 days at Ruchikere's house in Makindye before taking off to attack Kabamba. So he has been able to put at the disposal of the people of Uganda his knowledge, his experience, and his resources. And in the War of Liberation, the protracted People's War, he was the chairman of the external committee of the National Resistance Movement. So really have confidence. If you have question marks about student politics, dismiss them and get actively involved, because that's important training for your future. I'm extremely glad that President Kikwete is here with us. is somebody who is extremely experienced in issues of the youth and student matters. He is somebody who has gone up the ladders from the ground to the top in Tanzania, who has served the people of Tanzania both in the military and in the political space, and has served his constitutional 10 years as President of Tanzania, and with distinction. So we are extremely happy that we are discussing this with him, and is going to give the main statement in another few minutes. But before I call him to do so, let me also say that apart from Matthew Kikwete, Makerere University has been able to produce people who have had indelible impact in the politics and other spheres in Uganda, in East Africa, and in beyond. I'll just give you a few illustrations. Our guild president, one of the guild presidents when I was at Makerere, was Professor Peter Anyang'-Nyong'o. Peter Anyang'-Nyong'o is from Kenya. He is currently the governor of Kisumu. He has been the Secretary General of ODM, the biggest party in Kenya in a way, apart from now the ruling party. And he did excellent work as leader of the Makerere Students Guild. It did not matter during those days whether you are from Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, or anywhere. So long as you had the credentials, you would amass the votes. You didn't have to be a member of Party X, Party Y, or Party Z. You had to have issues. Apart from him, I also mentioned Dr. Noah Miguda, also from Kenya, who was president a year earlier. There have been other presidents, but let me highlight one point. It was hazardous to be a student leader at times in Uganda. During the days of dictator Idi Amin, student leaders endeavored, but it became difficult for them to operate. The last two who operated were General Kahinda Otafire contesting against Amama Mbabazi. It was a hot race. It became so hot, and the regime of that day said, if we allow this heat to continue at Makerere, it may explode and cover the whole country. So the military dictatorship banned the guild elections. And for some years, the guild had no elected leadership. But I must say, Makerere has had big leaders. You have had President Kikwete of Kenya scoring the first-class honors degree in economics at Makerere. You have had Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, the leader, the traditional leader of opposition in Kenya during those days. Makerere was the centerpiece for them. Mwalimu Julius Nyerere came here to learn to be really a teacher. He spent some time here. He was coming from Butiama, and it was not easy for Mwalimu Julius Nyerere to frequently go back for holidays in Tanzania. So, one of the Ugandan families the Nkata family in the neighborhood of Makerere. Brought him in. Mwalimu was helping teach them Swahili, and they were helping him to learn some Luganda and the like. So, the point I'm really stressing is that Makerere has been a center for training of East Africans who have had a very, very important role to play. Challenges for the students. I'm glad that you people have started this initiative. I'm also happy that students of various universities are brought on board, although at the very beginning I saw them being overwhelming or overshadowed by Makerere's mobilization. Make sure you exercise your freedom without intimidating others. So, I think you colleagues should identify your responsibilities, your tasks, your goals. It does not matter that you are still young. You can do great things even when you are still young. You saw Adeka and others doing very well in Parliament, Mbide here, speaking the most advanced English you can think of. So start your life early while you're at Makerere, plan, define on what you should do for yourself as an individual, for society, for the country, for the continent, and for humanity. I believe when you are clear with that, you will score heavily. As you know, you have heard it a number of times. Yoweri Museveni, as a student at Ntale, him and some students started organizing pastoralists to be more settled instead of going all over the place looking after cows. And that program of making the people settle and look after their cows well has, over the years, transformed that part of Uganda into a very wealthy area simply because of being mobilized to look after their cows better and earn more money from them. Therefore, while Nduguru Chikere is right that we are faced with a substantial challenge from many Africans and many Ugandans, we can get solutions for this challenge by starting early, working with the people, and being able to uplift the standard of living of our people, and, as I said, them taking a lead role and us playing a supportive role and sometimes a guiding role. I would really want to, because of rushing, and the President of Uganda is waiting for President Kikwete, I would like to conclude by making just one or 2 points. Matthew Chikere has made a proposal that this initiative by the Summit of Guild Leaders is a very good idea, and it brings a new umbrella organization that brings Ugandan university students together. But he went a step further and said, this is good for Uganda, but why shouldn't we make it good for East Africa? You had his proposal. The clappings appear to be few, so perhaps. So it is clear to me that Matthew Chikere's proposal of setting up an East African body of student leaders has been approved. Is that correct? So really it's a popular position. And Ndugu Kikwete, who is a very well-known friend and mobilizer of the young people of East Africa, should be requested to be the patron of this umbrella organization. So I think the leadership has a responsibility of pursuing this general wish of us all to have the organization and have our patron in place. The last comment I want to make. When we were in school, even at our age, we were complaining about colonial occupation. We are complaining, and we still do, about Berlin Conference. And I'm very happy that Eve, in her poem, pointed out this. We are in effect complaining against colonial balkanization. Isn't that the case? But how long shall we complain? Can't we do something about this? Obviously we can. So one of the many tasks, in my view, of the student leaders, guild leaders in Uganda and in East Africa should be to champion and sensitize people about the need for deepening East African cooperation and integration. If we do that, it will increase our capacity to be able to meet the challenge of population that Matthew Makerere was talking about. Therefore, we request you, the leaders of the student movement, in your respective capacities, to be the champions so that the dream of our forefathers can be realized. I say the dream of our forefathers because, as you know, Mwalimu Julius Nyerere said Tanganyika was ready to delay its independence so that Kenya and Uganda could get independence at the same time and federate. If this had been done, I believe that East Africa today would be better in terms of resources, income, and development than what we are now. Instead, we spent a lot of time in a tug of war over petty issues. So, since our forefathers advised us a long time ago to end balkanization, which all of us condemn, since they worked so hard to dream about it, to work for it, but did not succeed, in my view, they handed the baton to us to ensure that this goal of getting the people together once again is achieved. After all, the African people have always been together except the temporary period of colonialism and the boundaries. And instead of erasing the boundaries so that we are once again together, we decided to piously believe in them and take them as if they were ordered by the Almighty God. So let us have young men and women led by this summit, mobilized in Uganda, in Kenya, in Tanzania, in the 8 countries of the community, so that the people of the community can deepen their integration, can essentially become one people, can essentially become one country for the benefit of all of us. It's now my great pleasure, friends, to request our chief guest, chief speaker, and the distinguished Pan-African President Kikwete to make his remarks. President, you're welcome.
The reason I came here when the program had already started And Your Excellency, by the time I was leaving cabinet, he was also announcing that he's stepping out to meet you. So I recognize that we are really time constrained, but at the same time I am carrying his message, and therefore I request Your Excellency that you allow me to present his message. But I would like to thank the management of Makerere University for keeping this homely place in shape, both in terms of the quality of learning and teaching, and in terms of the organization. Your Excellency, I was here in 1994, and I feel very privileged to be here tonight because this is home. The Right Honorable Hakana Rugunda has named a number of leaders who have passed through Makerere University, including His Excellency Benjamin Mkapa, His Excellency Julius Nyerere, His Excellency Mwai Kibaki, who I was with here to launch his library when I was the Minister of Education. So I would like to add, Your Excellency, that with the presence of the team from the United Republic of Tanzania, I resided in the hall called the Complex Hall at that time, where His Excellency Julius Nyerere resided when he was in this university. So we who were residing in that hall used to feel very proud because Julius Nyerere is an exemplary leader across Africa. And we actually used to boast that we are like him. Though I was in a class of political science and he was in a class of education. Having said that we are really time constrained, let me now read the message of His Excellency the President. I thank the organizers of the inaugural Guild Leaders Summit for inviting me to join you today. In a special way, I welcome my brother, His Excellency Jakaya Kikwete, the former President of the United Republic of Tanzania, and I thank him for gracing this important summit of student leaders and young intellectuals. The inaugural Leaders Summit 2024 has been convened under the theme, Legacy and Leadership Continuum, the Power of Knowledge and Cross-Generational Learning. I am one of the pioneers of organized student leadership in East Africa. I started working on changing the people around me, changing Uganda through the student movement, and in 1968, our student group visited the liberated areas of Mozambique while still a university student. Our student groups in the mid-1960s triggered the resistance against sectarian politics. Therefore, I recognize the importance of student leadership. However, it must be anchored on correct ideas by making a correct diagnosis of the problems of society and how to solve these problems. It is therefore important for young leaders to understand the challenges and bottlenecks that precipitate social backwardness and engage in efforts to address those challenges. Our student movement was able to identify 10 bottlenecks to Uganda's development, and they include ideological disorientation, a weak state, especially the army, underdeveloped infrastructure, i.e. the railways, the roads, electricity, telephones, pipe water, etc. The underdevelopment of the human resource, lack of education and poor health for the population. Interfering with the private sector, either by policy or by corruption. A fragmented African market on account of colonialism. exporting unprocessed raw materials and therefore getting little money and losing jobs. This was caused by lack of industrialization. The underdevelopment of the services sector, e.g. hotels, banking, transport and insurance, etc. The underdevelopment of agriculture and the attack on democracy. Your Excellency, after many years of struggle, peaceful and armed and analysis, the NRM evolved 4 principles to address the above challenges, and these are patriotism, non-sectarianism of religion or tribe, no suppression of women, and no marginalization of the youth, the disabled, the underdeveloped areas such as Karamoja, etc., etc. Pan-Africanism, working for the Federation of East Africa and beyond, as well as the common market of Africa in order to guarantee greater prosperity and strategic security. The unity of the market of Uganda is not enough to guarantee our prosperity. A bigger market means greater prosperity and strategic security to defend our sovereignty against the imperialists. Socio-economic transformation, so as to change Uganda from being a peasant society into a middle income class, skilled working class society. In order to benefit from Pan-Africanism and from Uganda's unity, the society must undergo a group of metamorphosis, socio-economic transformation. In our case, Your Excellency, this means transitioning from the pre-capitalist or subsistence mode of life to the modern money economy and eliminating bystanders or spectators in the drive towards increasing the household incomes and creation of jobs. As more and more Ugandans wake up and select profitable enterprises in the 4 sectors of commercial agriculture, industries, services, and ICT, production of Ugandan commodities and services will continue to go up. Therefore, it is easy to observe that in the long run, our internal market of 45 million people is not enough. Already, with just little waking up of a few Ugandans, we now have surplus milk, sugar, bananas, etc. Finally, ensuring the development of democracy. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, I invite the young leaders gathered here today to make a critical study of the above bottlenecks and how to apply the NRM's principal solutions to these challenges. This will enable you to make a meaningful contribution to socio-economic transformation of our country. In today's rapidly evolving world, knowledge is more than just information. It is a currency of progress. It empowers you to innovate, to adapt, and to overcome the challenges that lie ahead. But knowledge is not static. It is dynamic and ever-changing. And it is through cross-generational learning that you can unlock your full potential. Cross-generational learning is not merely about passing down knowledge from elders to youth. It is a two-way exchange, a dialogue between experience and innovation. It is about harnessing the wisdom of age and the energy of the youth to forge a brighter future together. In this room, we have leaders from different backgrounds, different walks of life, each bringing their unique perspective to the table. By bridging the gap between generations, we create a synergy that propels us towards driving innovation and fostering inclusive growth. Finally, I urge you to harness the power of knowledge, embrace the spirit of cross-generational learning, and build a legacy of leadership that will stand the test of time. I thank you all. That is the message of His Excellency the President.
Grown people like His Excellency Benjamin Mkapa, as well as Nyerere. And I want to claim that by induction, you are also Makerere alumnus, because you learned from Nyerere and Mkapa. So I want us to clap for you for being an alumnus of Makerere University by induction. Makerere takes pride in such activities because these are the activities that make us known as Makerere, as the greatest institution in this region. So we don't take these activities lightly. They are the ones that give us prominence. And that is why Makerere continues to shine, not only in Uganda, but in the region, but also globally. When you travel, when you go to Sweden, when you go to Australia, and you mention Makerere, Makerere is a big brand to reckon with. So I want to thank you. So mine was to give a vote of thanks to the chief guest and also to our vice president for sparing your time to come and be with us. I want to thank the Prime Minister Emeritus and also our mentor in many ways for gracing the occasion, and all the people who are here. Ours at Makerere is to say we shall continue with this legacy, because since today we're talking about legacy. Nyerere built his legacy, and it will always be there. People like Mkapa made their legacy. People like His Excellency Kikwete made their legacy. And we want to continue building on that legacy without distorting the facts. I want to just reflect on one thing that the student leaders have said, that at Makerere we tend to gag issues of democracy. I think it was in that tone. And I want to say that at Makerere we are really very democratic. We're very democratic. We have institutions, guest of honor and vice president, that have got a university council, and that council comprises of 2 members of our guild. So the guild president, the deputy, sit on the Makerere University Council, which is the topmost organ of the university. And that's why we make decisions regarding our governance, regarding our leadership. And we should have we should move together with the notion of collective responsibility. That once we sit as a council, then we should continue with what we have decided, not to go out and say we don't subscribe to what has been passed. I just want to give that pointer, and also to request our guild leadership. Let's work together. And all the guilds that are represented. You work with administrators. You see, in democracy, you don't create chaos. You need to work with the institutions in order to promote the good things that are enshrined in the governance of that institution. Mine was to give a vote of thanks, not to complain, guest of honor, and I think I've done that. So I want to thank all people of God for gracing this occasion. Thank you very much.
But none of the candidates that were aspiring for the various positions was inclined to any political party. So why is it that when they are trying to bring up this statute, they are telling us that because of violence, we need not to operate under our various political umbrellas? Me, I believe this is a sinister motive towards seeing our leadership goals curtailed as leaders, because our motto is very clear, and vision and mission. We build for the future. But I'm worried. I'm worried with the kind of electoral system that we are being put, subjected to. The EC chair is here. He doesn't know who won, he cannot verify. So that puts us at a risk. That puts at a risk of us being chosen leaders for. Because the EC cannot verify the results. He can't tell me that I got this number of results from my School of Social Sciences. He can't tell me that. He doesn't know that. Our Justice Simon Biabakama allowed me to report to you that however much this country in 2005 we entered into an inception of allowing multi-party politics. That very statute I'm talking about under Section 6.2 does not allow us to politically associate openly. When they hear that Rubegan Samba is associating with any political party, they are going to come after me and disqualify me from the race, which we believe it does not really work with the national laws, because Article 29E allows us to politically associate with any political parties that we wish. Here at Makerere University, we are socially discriminated. In that same statute, Section 80C, year ones are not allowed to stand. That is social discrimination, which Article 21, Clause 2 of our Constitution, which is the supreme law, does not purport to that. So the leaders who are here, kindly, and management, we are humbly requesting, let us look through these things, because we all appreciate the important aspect of leadership, what leadership can do to any society. Honorable Mukasambid, I don't believe you will be the way you are if you are subjected to the same system that we are subjected to currently. I believe you must know what is taking place at Makerere. The Justice Byabakama, who is the head of elections in the entire country, we are about to reach out to your office, all the former leaders. We want to see how we can subvert this, because surely it does not build for the future, it does construct the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Yes, so we're going to come back to the panel, and whereas the panel can comment on that question, I would advise that we defer that question to the next panel, because the next panel is purely looking at youth engagement in policy formations, and it's also exploring students' leaders' roles in influencing tertiary institution policy frameworks, and that is quite broadly. And thankfully, the chair or the moderator for that panel, Ms. Helena Okiring, is in the house, and she has elaborately had that question, and I believe it will be a good context with which to open panel 2. On that note, I will come back to the main panel, and I'd like to say that we've eaten into the time by about 10 minutes, so we really need to close this very quickly. So if we can limit our responses miraculously to a minute, that will be ideal. And we will start from my far right, which is with Sheila. Yes, please.
I beg your pardon?
We will start with you in closing. So I had provided guidance at the beginning on a few questions to respond to, and in case there's a particular question that was directed at you, please respond, but let's not take more than 2 minutes in response.
Thank you so much. There was no question referred to me. However, this would just be a very few remarks from me. I think it's very important that we should be service-based, service-oriented, than focusing on political parties. Because then when we focus on political parties, I don't think there's much that we do, given we're in universities and other institutions. When you are looking forward to giving service to your people, I don't think there's anything that comes beyond that, other than worshipping and probably, as they say, bootlicking, which is a very harsh word I would say they use out there. People focus on parties so much so that they forget the aspect of why they have been chosen in that particular or critical role. And also, I would think that student leaders should look forward to organizing the communities that they are the cheerleaders, because then it is through that organization that your performance is going to be looked out for. Because when you lead a very disorganized society, whatever it is that you do, I don't think it can be seen. And also, maybe we could, for the universities that practice party politics, I think it's only fair that maybe the students choose what to go with, because at the end of the day, when you're out of university, what are you going to do outside there? What is it that you want to achieve? If you limited yourself to party activities right from universities, when you get out, the transition is going to be a little bit hard. Even the adaptation to these other environments, it's going to be a little bit hard. So for me, I think it's important that you focus on service. It's important that you focus on growth and what comes with leadership. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Moving over to Mr. Christopher Okidi.
Oh, thank you
Just
so
a
much.
reminder that it's 2 minutes.
Oh, that is even too much. Thank you. There are things that we need to agree in this room that are non-negotiable. You see, there are things you can negotiate about, and then there are those that are non-negotiable. In any relationship, even with your girlfriend, you have to tell her that, you see, we can negotiate about this, but these are unnegotiable. And I think democracy is unnegotiable. There is no need to pontificate, move around, scatter around the idea by trying to bring justifications that are dead on arrival. For example, how do you begin to say? By the way, for you, I think I didn't give myself an elaborate introduction. I've studied in 3 universities in this country, and the 4th institution I studied in is at LDC, so I understand all this context. In fact, this was my guild president I voted for when I was studying at political science here for my graduate program, and when I was doing law at UCU, I voted for Priska. So I have been in these universities and I know. When I was youth leader of DP, I wanted to challenge the Uganda Christian University because clearly limiting students from participation. As a student you admitted, you limit him to participate for guild elections because of religion, and yet there are constitutional provisions about rights to your political opinion, social affiliation, and all that, and the state is just watching. In fact, I'm very disappointed in Makerere, guild president, to be complaining here in this guild leaders summit. I expected him to be complaining in court by way of judicial review. I know Ivan Bowe is always there giving pro bono. So even we were told by philosophers then, Aquinas, Augustine, to object to unjust laws, you see? In fact, you're helping Uganda in its democratic development by challenging unjust laws in some of these institutions. Let's take democracy as a non-negotiable. We shouldn't negotiate about that. This brings me to a point where I want to dissent with some of my panelists, including my senior colleague in the Democratic Party, Mukasa Mbide. Democracy is an inclusive institution. Democracy thrives on dissent. In fact, they say the cornerstone of democracy is dissent. Democracy is all about inclusivity. In fact, the simplest definition to define democracy is that democracy, yes, is that democracy is an institution for conflict resolution in society. You have law, that is why there are rule of law, all those things. You have what? You go to constitutional court. You have a land problem, you go there. So, democracy is something that, so humanity, it came up because humanity generally will have differences.
Thank you.
In this panel, we are not the same. We shall be different, even in opinion and what. But then there is democracy to moderate this. And finally, Isabella, this idea of saying people are idiots is what I really wanted to dissent with. Democracy being an inclusive institution, there is really no need to stratify people in terms of who they are, their cognitive aptitude. Democracy should include everybody.
Thank
and
you.
those who actually, I just
Okidi, Mr. Okidi Christopher. Yes.
Kindly, those who think unreasonable people cannot bring change. I want you to read Ebert Hubbard, A Message to Garcia, and see how someone you thought was stupid ended the Spanish, the Cuban and Spanish Revolution. And then also there's Alfred Hitchman, who writes about what is called beneficial ignorance. So even there's some ignorance that is also beneficial.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to Honorable Anna.
I had 2 questions. The first that was raised by the young lady, the guild president of East Patch University, who spoke generally about the fact that you go to university to get an education, to get your degree, and you shouldn't be so politically involved. I think that an education is more than just a degree that you have. I mean, I was in Makerere, I studied law, graduated with a second-class upper honors degree, CGPA of 4.01 on Dean's List, doing law, while I was also guild president. Wow. I think I left Makerere University with more than just a Bachelor of Laws degree. And I think that it also enriches your experience as an international student to increase your knowledge, increase your experience about what happens. You know what distinguishes you as a student who leaves home to study in another country is your experience is going to be enriched by some other situations that other students back home will not have. So when you allow yourself to be politically involved, you also acquire knowledge, you acquire experience, and it's a good thing that you come from Africa, within Africa, because we struggle, we grapple with the same challenges all over the African continent. So I think that you should allow yourself to experience these things so that you get more than just a degree, which will be also a classic degree. You may get a classic degree, but also what you get outside, just that paper that you hold, will really enrich you as an individual and what you will become in the future. It will increase your ambition. I mean, I can't expound in detail, but it definitely makes you an edge way better than other students. That's why you find, when I was in Makerere, in the FDC we had an office for international relations, international students, because we wanted them to also be a part of this, to experience, and because it's a platform for your voice to be heard. So I think you should embrace it and experience it. It will enrich you. There was another question that was posed about the stigmatization of females. And I just want all the young women here to know you're not alone. What you've been going through, we went through it. But now you have so many examples to cite about very successful female leadership in Uganda as a country, in our institutions of higher learning. In Makerere, we have Shamim, Nambasa. At the time I became guild president, it had been Nora Njuba, Sarah Kajingo, Susan Abo, and I was the fourth. And now Shamim, I'm so proud of her. She becomes the fifth female. And I'm hoping there'll be another female from Makerere University. But you have all these examples to cite. And also, it's important as young women to get mentored. Don't navigate this journey alone, acting like you're the first to take this journey. You know, like John Speak, who they said was discovering Africa, yet we're already here. You have many people that you can share your challenges with. So don't navigate this like you are the first and the only one.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
He has recommended a series of books except one, which is Violence Between the Monkeys and the Man. So, now this is to you, the young people. First of all, who told you that joining politics and practically belonging to a political party gives you a bleak future? I am here. I hold a Bachelor's of Mass Communication degree from this university. I hold a Bachelor of Laws degree from the same university, Diploma Legal Practice, Masters of Laws, Oil and Gas, and a PhD honoris causa from the University of Philadelphia. Let me tell you why the difference between a PhD, which is academic, and one which is honoris causa. The one which is academic, somebody studies, majors in the field, and is actually subjected to a lot of scrutiny to the extent that then he is adjudged as fit and fair to be awarded a PhD. What about the one honoris causa? The university instead now studies about you sleeplessly to the extent that it awards you that degree. So that is the one I have. Now, I am equally a businessman, and I am flourishing, and my businesses are flourishing. I don't think if there is anybody that goes hungry, that statistic cannot include me. So why don't you join politics? For the sole purpose that anybody tells you you now have a bleak future. Which kind of future do I have? If you want to look like me, or even better, just join. Number two, and in fact join the Democratic Party. Number two, my brother, the guild president, and of course somebody else, Mujugu Jugu, who also posed the question. You have raised a very fundamental matter, that there is a statute that stops you from holding your politics here basing on multi-party political dispensation. My brother has recommended judicial review. It doesn't apply, of course, that is not the law. Judicial review applies to decisions, but this is a law. Now, what we are going to look at is the law. The law is very clear. I'm concluding.
Extended towards us. So
yes, okay.
In conclusion.
Okay, because you see, they say the minimis non iturat rex.
I hope that is not an attack.
The law recognizes everything except very minor matters. Now, this is not a minor matter. Why don't I conclude on it? Because it is a matter for which there are a lot of frowns on the faces of university students. I think we are going to advise you. Mr. Guild President take a decision as the GRC, recommending that we go to the Constitutional Court to have that statute expanded from the records of statutes in Uganda. Because that is the best way. I will be available, and I am sure many other advocates in Uganda will be available. We will definitely represent you, and I will make sure nobody charges you, not even me, who will be the lead lawyer. With only those, first of all, let me thank you. Because for me, this is a very great opportunity to, first of all, address the honchos and sachems of academics here in Uganda. I thank you so much, and the Right Honorable Prime Minister Emeritus, I am always happy each time I see you. Our senior leaders that have led this university before us, you showed us the way, Right Honorable Chikaide, and our other leaders, the doctors. So you have guided us, and I am sure we have not disappointed you. Thank you very much for God and
Thank you. I am going to pretend like I have not seen your hand, but it's been a great honor and privilege to host this distinguished panel. A big thank you to Honorable Anna Adeke. Thank you very much. Let's clap for her. A big thank you to Sheila Obia, who was Guild President with Uganda Matters University. Thank you to Priska Nyangiro, who was Guild President, Uganda Christian University. To Christopher Okidi, who was Guild President, Gulu University. Thank you very much. And to the Honorable Mukasa Mbide, thank you very much for being part of this panel. Once again, this panel was made possible by Civ Legacy Foundation. And the Civ Legacy Foundation is a philanthropy support and advisory partner, passionate about curating and facilitating spaces for conversations on contextual issues on leadership, governance, transition management, succession planning across sectors. Civ Legacy is part of CIVSOS Africa, which is a philanthropy advisory firm. So CIVSOS, Civ Legacy, thank you for making this possible. And to the entire panel, thank you very much. We should now exit before Mr. Chamagero comes back for us. Thank you.
Republic of Tanzania. I could also say welcome to Uganda. I was in your beautiful country last week. Two very beautiful countries. Also, the Right Honourable Ruhakana Rugunda, the former Prime Minister of Uganda, and Special Envoy for Special Duties at the Office of the President. Honourable Matthew Ruki Kaire, the former Minister of Finance, should be here. And of course, Justice Simon Byakabama from the Electoral Commission, right? He gave us a splendid speech before about democracy. Professor Henry Arinaitwe, who is the Deputy Vice Chancellor of this university. I'm very happy to be here, of course, with you today. We have Their Excellencies the Ugandan High Commissioner to Tanzania and the Tanzanian High Commissioner to Uganda here. A pleasure, colleagues. Members of the Guild Presidents, Leadership Academy Board and Secretariat, and of course all the students here at the university, including the great choir that you have here. Was that the Makerere or was it another choir? They sang beautifully for us. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure to be here today at this summit for former university student leaders in Uganda. Allow me to thank the Guild Presidents Leadership Academy for organizing such an inclusive event that takes stock of how youth leadership over time has been instrumental in contributing to Uganda's development journey. And it's a particular pleasure for me to be here because I was myself a member of the Students' Guild at the Lund University. We spoke about that, right, Honorable? At the Lund University in Sweden sometime in the beginning of the 90s, then representing the medical faculty in the Students' Guild. Ladies and gentlemen, it was Julius Nyerere who once said, "Leadership is not an individual quality but a collective one. It is not the lone voice in the wilderness but the many voices in unison that make the difference." That was Julius Nyerere. And today, ladies and gentlemen, leaders from different generations are gathering together here. As we reflect on the theme of this summit, legacy and leadership, the power of knowledge and cross-generational learning, it becomes evident that the transmission of knowledge and experiences across generations is crucial in ensuring a leadership continuum. And it is in this spirit of collaboration and mutual learning that we today have the honor of welcoming distinguished guests such as His Excellency Jakaya Mrisho Kikwete, the former President of the United Republic of Tanzania. Uganda's legal framework encourages young people to engage in development and democratic processes. That's quite clear from the discussions here today. Platforms such as the National Youth Council and the Youth Members of Parliament ensure that youth issues are heard and addressed from local to national levels. Institutions of higher education also play a pivotal role in nurturing career growth and fostering discussions on governance, democracy, and socio-economic development. The representation of student leaders at the university councils facilitates meaningful dialogue between students and university leadership and provides opportunities for youth engagement in Uganda's education policy. This has produced influential leaders who shape policy and public opinion as manifested in the many stories of those present here today. Team Europe, which is the European Union and Germany in this case, appreciates to be among the development partners supporting this event, as we are committed to empowering youth, offering them opportunities, and supporting them as key drivers of change. In partnership with the German corporation, we support various youth organizations through the GIZ Civil Society Support Program and strengthen their capacities to engage with state partners.
Deputy and the Vice Chancellor, Guild the leadership of Makerere University, the UNSA, Uganda National Students Association leadership, the National Council leadership around, representative of the NDS, representative of political parties, and the development partners. It is with great honor and privilege that I stand before you today as we gather for the inaugural Guild Leaders Summit here at Makerere University. In the presence of such esteemed dignitaries, the Vice President of Uganda, Her Excellency Jessica Lupo, who is representing the President of Uganda, the Chief Guest, the fourth President of the United Republic of Tanzania, His Excellency Jakaya Mrisho Kikwete. We are truly witnessing history being made today. Before we embark on a journey of exploration and collaboration, let us take a moment to reflect on the significance of this summit. The Guild Presidents Leadership Academy, in its pursuit of fostering leadership excellence, has brought together former student leaders from across generations and from all institutions of higher learning here in Uganda to reignite civic participation and to contribute to the strengthening of Uganda's democracy. Today, we stand on the shoulders of giants, trailblazers who have paved the way for us to follow. Our theme this year, Legacy and Leadership Continent, the power of knowledge and cross-generational learning, resonates deeply with the ethos of this summit. It speaks to the timeless connection between the past, the present, and the future, a connection embodied in the legacy of our different learning institutions and the continuum of leadership that spans generations. Makerere University, with its storied history and illustrious alumni, stands as a statement to the enduring power of knowledge and the transformative potential of cross-generational learning. In the annals of history, Uganda and Tanzania share a bond forged in crucible of struggle and solidarity. The friendship between our two nations, rooted in a shared commitment to progress and development, serves a shining example of cooperation and collaboration. As we gather here today, let us draw inspiration from the spirit of friendship that binds us, transcending borders and boundaries in pursuit of common vision for a better tomorrow. Knowledge is a cornerstone of progress, the currency of change, the catalyst for transformation. In the halls of our institutions out there, knowledge takes on a life of its own, nurtured, cultivated, and shared among generations. It empowers us to challenge the status quo, to push the boundaries of possibility, and to envision a future where anything is possible. We embark on a journey of discovery. Let us embrace the power of knowledge as our guiding light, illuminating the path ahead with clarity and purpose. But knowledge alone is not enough. It is through cross-generational learning that we unlock its full potential. When the wisdom of the old meets the energy of the young, we've seen earlier today, magic happens. It is in this arena of collaboration that innovation thrives, that solutions are formed, and that progress is made. As current and former guild leaders, we have a unique opportunity to bridge the gap between generations, to share our experience and to impart wisdom to the leaders of tomorrow. Let us seize this opportunity with both hands, knowing that our actions today will shape the course of history for our generations to come. To fellow former and current guild leaders, I issue a call to action. Let us rise to the occasion. Let us rekindle the flame of civic participation, reignite the spirit of activism, like I had today, and reclaim our rightful place as architects of change. Together we can build a future that honors the legacy of those who came before us and pave the way for those who will follow in our footsteps. Let us embrace the power of knowledge. Let us harness the energy of cross-generational learning, and let us leave a legacy that will inspire generations to come. Let us also recognize the vital role that this summit plays in shaping the course of our nation's history. It is not merely a gathering of minds, but a catalyst for change, a platform for innovation and collaboration. As we embark on this historic journey together, let us do so with a sense of purpose and determination, knowing that the decisions we make today will echo through the corridors of time. In conclusion, let me leave you with a quote that has guided us throughout this journey. The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. Let us believe in our dreams. Let us believe in our potential. And let us believe in each other. Together we can build a future that is brighter, bolder, and more beautiful than anything we have ever imagined. I thank you.
And hopefully of sub-Saharan Africa. This challenge is not a wish. It is an imperative and a prerequisite for the survival of Africa in the world. As part of the continuing celebrations of Makerere University to mark 100 years of existence, I was invited as a guest speaker by Makerere in March 2023 to honor its previous leaders, chancellors, vice chancellors, governing council members, and others. At that time, I dealt with the critical challenge of Africa's rapidly growing population and its implications. Permit me to raise the same critical issues again in this forum, and I quote from my speech of that time. Available population data shows that Africa is in the middle of what one demographer has called the greatest democratic upheaval in the history of the world. According to researchers, by 2050, only 27 years from now, the world's population will be about 10 billion. Of that, Africa's population is projected to reach 2.5 billion, or 25% of the entire world population. Africa's population will have grown 11-fold in the century from 1950 to 2050. By comparison, Asia in the same period will have grown 4-fold, India alone 5-fold. In 1950, Africa represented less than 10% of the world's population, while Greater Europe, for example, represented 20% of the world's population. By 2050, however, Africa will represent 25% of the world's population, while Greater Europe will have shrunk to 7% of the world population. Africa will contribute 65% of the global population growth between now and 2050, and will still be growing strongly. 12 countries in particular are growing at the highest speed and will double their population between now and 2050. These include Uganda, Tanzania, DR Congo, Nigeria, Niger, Angola, Cote d'Ivoire, Zambia, Mali, Chad, Mozambique, Burkina Faso, and Burundi. Nigeria, for example, will double its population from the current 200 to 400 million in 2050. Uganda will also double its population from 45 million today to about 90 million. Kenya will also double from 50 to nearly the same, 90, by 2050, as will Tanzania. Secondly, Africa today is also the youngest continent on the globe. The median age of Africa today is 19 years. In Asia, it is 32. In Europe, it is 44. In Uganda, the median age is only 16. 60% of Africa's population is under the age of 25. By 2050, the population of East Africa and West Africa will both be larger than the Greater Europe, which includes Russia. By 2050, 40% of the children being born in the world will be Africans. And 1/3 of the young people of the world, i.e. between 15 and 24, will also be Africans. 38 out of 40 of the youngest countries will be in Africa. So what are the implications of this astounding phenomenon? This kind of population growth can either be a curse or a blessing, depending on how it is handled. With the kind of population growth that Africa is witnessing, we can either become the largest slum in the world and the most politically unstable region of the world, afflicted by hunger, disease, war, massive migration, other countries. On the other hand, if Africa prepares her youth well, this population growth will spur massive economic growth, placing Africa among the powerful nations of the world. As things stand today, 11 million African youths are being turned out into the labor market, but only 3 million new formal jobs are available for them, meaning that we already have a deficit of about 8 million. How then can we in Africa ensure that we reap this democratic dividend? How can Africa tap into the potential of these young people to grow its economies at a faster rate than its population are growing? How can Africa provide decent jobs, food, health care, housing, and infrastructure for its youth? We must think again. Education. Education is probably the single most critical sector for the future of Africa. Africa's youth must be educated and equipped with sufficient skills to navigate their way in the economies of the future. We must ask ourselves, what curriculum changes are required in our educational system to prepare our young children to create the wealth needed to cater for this phenomenal growth of population? How can education be made more relevant to the economy? Regional integration. And that's one area where I think our guest of honor is going to be critical. We can say with confidence that with this kind of population growth, no African country will be able to meet the demands of its youth by itself. Regional integration of markets and economies and even politics is critical. If we integrate our countries and act together, it will be easier to achieve. Macroeconomic stability. African economies have grown over the last 30 years, largely as a result of overcoming inflation by instilling fiscal discipline and maintaining macroeconomic stability. A return to inflationary behavior and fiscal indiscipline would be disastrous for Africa's economies. This discipline must be maintained. One should not minimize the economic measures which have been put in place, especially in Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda, in the areas of customs union and cross-border movement of goods and people. But these are not enough by themselves and cannot overcome the problems I listed above. After my address on the occasion of marking Makerere's 100 years and discussion that followed with Makerere administration and council, it was agreed that a center spearhead the search for solutions to the problems for the whole of sub-Saharan Africa, covering economic integration, population and demography, environment, and related technical training to support these efforts be established under the auspices of the Center of Excellence already in existence at Makerere. Finally, let me make yet another proposal to the Guild President's Leadership Academy to consider. I want to propose that as well as becoming the annual event, this institution should be expanded to become an East African Leadership Academy. And that His Excellency Jakaya Kikwete be requested to become the Academy's patron. In closing, Your Excellency, I'm sorry to have to say that, but I mean it. In closing, let me say that in the distant past, knowledge was passed on to the younger generation through tales and conversations between the older men to the young men and older women to young women. These days, knowledge is passed on through books and media technology. Your Excellency, our chief guest, permit me to present to you a book I wrote about 3 years ago entitled 70 Years as a Witness, which covers my experiences, some of which are relevant to what we are discussing today. Thank you, Your Excellency, for gracing this occasion with your presence. Just 1 minute. So I'll be presenting this back when I come back.
Excellency, Vice President Jessica Alupo, distinguished guests, all protocol observed. Good afternoon. My name is Eva Richikeire-Mine. I am a writer and a poet and a passionate East African. This is a poem I've written, and it's entitled East Africa Rising. I am East Africa. I am the remnant of a history broken and old glory stolen, partitioned like a pie at a conference table in Berlin. My kings and chiefs were handed pen and paper, mirrors and gold to relinquish customary hold. In the name of civility, they ceded liberty. Since then, I have walked for generations the untapped potential of my lands, choked in a white collar, encumbered by the heavy weight of ill-fitting imperial boots. Dry like a tree severed from its ancestral roots. But I have survived. Today, I am an East Africa rising. I am 8 countries integrating and still counting. I am over 300 million people. With a median age of 19, I am bulging with youthful energy, and the world must contend with me. Like the Grand Inga Dam of the DRC, I am an explosion of potentiality. I am gathering my broken parts, reclaiming the amputated limbs of my Congolese forefathers, lost in the cruel harvest of rubber under King Leopold's plunder. I am contemporary Congo, a priceless aggregation of globally coveted wealth. I come to the Union suspicious of my neighbors, but trusting in the higher ideals and promises of unity. I am South Sudan. I am armed with the genetics of determination that saw the Dinka and the Nuer and other tribes stand through centuries of Arab domination and human rights violation. I am the voice of John de Mabior Garang, who famously said at the Comprehensive Peace Agreement in Nairobi, "Let us move forward with the momentum of history." I am a Rwanda. Like a phoenix, I have risen from the ashes of genocide. Defying international prescriptions, I soldier on in perfect imperfection. Conquering my history, I am recognized globally as a miracle story. I am Tanzania, standing on the shoulders of Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere. I am detribalized and healthily politicized. Conquering the African conundrum of transition, I am Ali Hassan Mwinyi. I am Benjamin Mkapa. I am Jakaya Kikwete. I am John Pombe Magufuli. I am Samia Suluhu. My institutional headship of this union is indisputably legitimized. I am Somalia, a proud pilgrim from Africa's Horn, seeking to be reborn. With a history of anarchy, I am war-torn. My many aspirations have been stillborn. I come to the union with my warring clans and my unfulfilled plans. I come with an ingenuity of enterprise and a mastery of money. I come with my warrior ancestry. I come with the fear of Allah and the discipline of Sharia. I am thousands of miles of coastline. I am the union's bridge to the world. I am Burundi. The majesty of my drumbeat has never been silenced by the genocidal trauma of ethnic violence. I come to Arusha desperately seeking to change the trajectory of my broken story. I am Uganda. I have given massive impetus to the reassembly of scattered people. Domestically, I am a tangible manifestation of grassroots integration. My doors are wide open. My policies are accommodative. My people are politicized to be empathetic and receptive. Regionally, my span is monumental. With my boots on the ground, from the Great Lakes to the Horn, my impact has been instrumental. I am General Yoweri Museveni. Rehembo Gwenjura. I have kept the flame burning. I have kept the flame burning through the dewy seasons of feigning political will. The lens of hindsight and history may portray the long season of my leadership story as having been necessary for the restoration of lost glory and the mental rehabilitation of the African situation. I am Kenya. I wear the scars of historical rebellion like a proud medallion. Energized by the Mau Mau who shed blood for sovereignty, I am pushing the frontiers of economic emancipation and integrity of my people. With a skilled and professional workforce, I am at the vanguard of the region's race to middle-income status, leading the way for others to follow. I am proving that the Union can have a better tomorrow. I am East Africa Rising. Asanteni sana.